I think we can start. Is that and so I think that the purpose of this. Well, first of all, welcome everyone. Just say again, so glad that you joined us here at the corporate practice breakout room. I think we want to keep this as conversational as we can. So like, if there's any moment that you have any questions or want to interrupt or want someone to like expand on something, please either write it on the chat, let us know, or just say something, because it's not so much like, I don't want you guys to have to hear us talk all the time. So but I don't know if Monique, if you had anything else you wanted to say before we start, or
no, I think you said it all.
cool. So we have some questions that maybe we should ask each other, and some people might be wondering, what does a day in the life of like someone that works at a big PR firm, for corporate, what does that look like? And so Monique, your day in the life might be a little bit different than mine, but what does your day in the life look like?
My day in the life is never the same, for sure. I never know what's gonna happen when I wake up. But I would say it's exciting though, because I'm someone who gets bored very easily. So what I love about the corporate practice is I never know if I'm going to be helping with a healthcare client or helping with a brand solutions, or if we're going to have a crisis and we got to work with PAC, so, but it's definitely a lot of like media monitoring, media materials, pitching, creative ideation, which is something I really enjoy. But then we also get, sometimes we get pulled into that internal communications as well. Like, how can we engage with employees? How can we make this a great place to work? A lot of D&I, there's just so many aspects to the corporate practice. So it's hard to say what exactly a day in the life is. But in a nutshell, it's fun. It keeps you on your toes. So
yeah, I can totally echo that. It's funny because I was working on client side before I came to BCW. And so I was, I had a firm that we paid and that helped us with our communications. And one of the reasons I decided to make the transition to firm, being at the agency side, was that the fact that everything kind of is a little bit more exciting, and there's different problems to solve every day. And so I'm someone that kind of likes that as well. Maybe it might be worth to just kind of talk a little bit about what aspects of corporate communications we hit. I work more on like the media relations side. So for me, it's definitely a lot of like calling up reporters, finding the story. How do we make sure that this corporate executive or this particular campaign or particular research gets viewed by people? Monique, have you done work in like the client transformation side, the business transformation side? Can you talk a little bit about that? Or?
A bit. I feel like the majority of my work definitely it's in the realm of like influencer marketing and reputation management. For the most part, it's really about, what are our competitors doing? How can we do it better? Or like, how can we adapt, and make it our own? But then at the same time, it's like, how can we amplify our messaging? Who can we partner with to amplify our messaging? What makes sense in terms of not just who, but what other brands can we partner with? What other media can we, engage with? Just really getting our efforts out there is a huge part of what I do.
Kristen, Marcos, I'm curious about the corporate life. I totally want to acknowledge that you have a breadth of knowledge as well. So I don't know if there's anything that you want to talk about summarizing what corporate PR work is.
Sure, Marcos. You were asking about business transformation, which I actually do work really closely with that team, even though in my role, I do focus on kind of our business transformation at BCW and our culture, but I do get a chance to work on client work with that team. And what I think is cool about where the corporate practice is going these days, particularly at BCW, is we're looking around us and seeing that the whole world is in transformation mode, right? Every company, every business, every organization is transforming in big and small ways in terms of, internally communicating with their employees, but also communicating to the marketplace. And from an infrastructure perspective, from a systems perspective, how are they evolving to keep up with the pace of change in the environment around them? So it's a really exciting time to be in the work of corporate communications and business transformation, because the need is so tremendous and it's so multifaceted, right? There are just, as Monique was just saying, there's so many different lenses on what it means to be a, responsibly communicating and engaged organization. So one example of a project I'm working on right now through our business transformation team is one of our clients wanted to do some upskilling for their managers to help them navigate these challenging times, people returning to office after a very long time working remotely, all of the other dynamics that are kind of going on around this particular business. And they said, we want to help train our managers to lead with more emotional intelligence in conversations with their teams as they're navigating these moments. And so I'm getting to come in and do EQ training with these managers and getting a chance to impact the culture of our clients. So it's really exciting work to do. And there's just, listen, everybody, we need all hands on deck for business transformation these days. So please do consider it as an avenue for you.
Cool. Now, I want to ask, maybe anyone in the that works at BCW can maybe jump into this. Like, how do you find yourself kind of landing in corporate communications or even at BCW? I know we talked a little bit about it before, but I think that at least for me, coming into corporate, it was such a like corporate communications. What does that mean, right? And as we break it down, how do you find that your experiences have helped you do your work now? Like your past experiences have helped you help and serve your corporate clients. And I can start. Go ahead.
Yeah, I could jump in because this really was like a random. I don't know how I got here. Like I really had to reflect on how did I get here. What's happening?
Thank goodness you did. My goodness.
Thank you. Very happy to be here. But no, I went to undergrad to major in mass communications because I was on track to go to law school. So I was going to go to law school, become a lawyer, and I went to USF Globals and they didn't have a law major. So you had to do pre-law, but you had to major in something else. So I decided to major in mass comm and psychology because I'm indecisive. And I was like, I'm gonna do these because they both deal with people. Lawyers should be able to deal with people. That was my mindset. And then as I'm going through the program, that's when I learned about public relations. I had never heard of it, had no idea what it was. I always thought of broadcast or reporting or magazine whenever I thought of media. So then I fell in love with public relations. And then I just got to a point where literally my senior year, I'm studying for the LSAT and everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do PR. I really enjoy it. So rather than going to law school, I'm going to get my master's in PR. And at the time, of course, like everyone else, I was obsessed with scandal. So I was like, I'm going to be Olivia Pope. I'm going to get this, my trench coat and I'm going to deal with crisis and I'm going to solve people's problems. And I was just like, yes. So I actually wanted to be in PAC. So I got referred from a friend who I had an internship with to join BCW, but they only had a corporate position open. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I could join corporate. And then after, the 6 months or so of being an AC, I could just transfer to PAC. And once I got started, I fell in love with my clients. I fell in love with the work. I realized how in the corporate practice, you get to touch all the different practices. Which once again, I'm indecisive. So I liked being flexible and being like, oh, I could help with a healthcare client. And at the same time, I can help with, a crisis, which I did a lot because I like that type of work. But it was just kind of like a series of, I had this plan that I was going to go to law school and all of these different experiences happened. I met all these different people and totally deterred from that path. But I can't say that I regret a moment of it. I'm very even my mom was like, how are you here? How did this happen? Why did you leave Florida? But, it's been great and I wouldn't change it for anything.
I love hearing that, Monique, and also Marcos, your story. And I think, something that really resonates with me is that, at BCW and in many sort of marketing structures, we have organizing principles. And I think practices are almost like an organizing but so much of our work really does transcend industry. So, even in healthcare, one of our accounts that we're working on in the COVID space, we work with PAC, we work with corporate, we work with the brand solutions team. And so you really become a team under BCW when you get to touch so many different things. So I think for those of you that are, trying to explore and think through, like, what is it? There's a lot of pressure and decision. And I think the first step is marketing and communications, perhaps, but then within that, don't feel that you're going to be stuck somewhere, because there's a lot of movement across the industries that you're touching, the clients that you touch, what you're interested in. And I think if you find the right fit of an agency that supports that, in many ways, I think we all agree BCW is one that does that well. It's something that you want to sort of push yourself to try. And I think so many stories on here are people who are like, I had no idea how I was going to get here. And then here you are, and it's working out.
Yeah. And I think, you've heard from Sam, right, who took her marketing communication skills and translated them into now her new role on the people side of the business. And I took a similar trajectory. So the cool thing about this field is that the skills that you develop as a communicator and as a way of understanding people and what moves people are going to serve you wherever you go. So even if you were to do a stint in marketing communications and move on to something else, those skills will translate into any other field you decide to enter.